Hello and welcome to Grave Discussions. I'm your host, Molly. Death is part of everyone's life, but fortunately a rare one. People who work in cemeteries, however, must face death almost every day. Today we will be interviewing my husband, Alan, about his job at a cemetery and how to prepare for you or your relative's death. So Alan, when were you born?
I was born in 1966.
And were you born and raised here in Montgomery County?
Yes, I was Rockville.
So what were your childhood hobbies?
Besides school, I enjoyed model railroading, music. A friend and I had a mock radio station that we did for a number of years and loved that. That was always fun.
And why did you choose the job that you did?
I really didn't choose it. I kind of fell into it. I was working as an electrician and that kind of fell through, being in and out of employment, and ended up kind of getting pulled into a funeral home, working at the funeral home that was just started up.
And what do you like most about your job?
Helping people in a difficult time.
So what is your title?
We call it a cemetery memorial counselor.
So you're definitely counseling.
Counseling people, kind of guiding them through the process of picking out cemetery plots and arranging for their loved ones' final disposition or their own.
Very good. And how long have you been in the business?
It's been between the funeral home and the cemetery probably about 20 years plus.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yes,
too long. Do you like this better than being a mortuary counselor?
Yes, I like this better. The hours are a little bit better. I don't have to go out on night calls, and I'm able to spend more time with my family.
That's good. Thank you, Alan. We will now be taking a short break, but we will be back. Stay tuned for how to prepare for your relative's death.
What is the difference between a photographer and a visual artist?
Well, the difference is not a lot. To put it simply, I'm a visual artist. Okay, I use photography, but I use other means to express myself.
Montgomery Community Media offers many courses.
Half the people getting to know these awesome people whom I work with and I'm learning with, and great teachers, and it's also like, oh, this is how TV works.
When I'm watching shows like talk shows or even, exercise shows, things like that, I look at it so differently.
That kind of like, there is a guy sitting at a giant board filled with buttons just pushing them. That makes sense.
We teach our students how to be the reporter, the shooter, and the editor for their very own news pieces.
This is a good opportunity to learn about different ways of documentary and editing.
My dad got an email from someone and he told me it was going to be a good opportunity to learn how to edit, shoot videos, and interview people.
It's really good, and you should come to MCM Backpack Journalism class because it's exciting and it's actually really fun.
MCM to me means opportunity. It's giving me the opportunity to gain experience on an actual show that airs on the network. And I don't think I'll be able to get that experience anywhere else. So it's been a great experience for me so far.
For anybody that hasn't taken one of the MCM classes, I encourage you, go out, try it, you won't regret it. You'll have an experience that you're gonna see how the cameras work, and actually an opportunity to be part of video production. That's what I would recommend anybody that's interested in MCM.
Welcome back to Grave Discussions. I'm your host, Molly, and we will be talking with Alan about his job and how to prepare for you or your death. So, Alan, where do you work?
I work for Montgomery Cemeteries. there's basically two cemeteries. One Judean Garden, one's Norbeck Memorial Park. Judean Gardens is strictly a Jewish cemetery, and Norbeck Memorial Park is a non-denominational cemetery.
And what do you like most about your job?
Working with different families and running into different situations that need to be resolved, and guiding families in what they should be ready, prepared for, and planning either their funeral and their final disposition or their loved ones.
And what is your job when you're on a work day?
My work day consists of, if somebody calls in from a funeral home and they need to schedule a funeral service, the funeral home will say, do you have available time on whatever day of the week it is? If there's nothing scheduled, we try to accommodate their first choice. If there's nothing available at that time, we try to work with them on another close time to that. Sometimes it's available, sometimes even that day can be full up, and they may have to go to another day.
And do you actually work on services?
I work on services when they're scheduled on the days that I'm in the office. Anywhere from 1 to 6 services in a day. And no matter the weather, we have to attend at each individual service.
So tell me what you like least about your job.
Sometimes the weather. It can be rain. Worst weather is rain and wind combination. You just get soaking wet all the way down to your bone, and there's no real way to dry out after you come back in from a rainy, wet, windy day.
And tell me about the graves. What different types of graves are there?
Well, there's graves for burial, and then there's graves for cremation. And even inside of burial or cremation, the biggest problem is selection, the location of each individual grave. Some people prefer to be near trees. Some people prefer to be near what we call gardens, which basically are just plants and trees set up in a specific pattern, and those sites are typically what seem to sell the fastest.
And are there like above ground graves?
We don't have above ground. Those are called columbarium. We have columbariums for cremation, and then there's mausoleums for full size. We don't have any mausoleums. We have one family mausoleum, but it's only for a couple, and that's the only mausoleum that we have. Mausoleums are extremely expensive.
And why would I choose one particular type of grave or burial over another?
Locations determined by what the family's wishes are. Some people like to be amongst the trees. Some people prefer more open spaces. In Judean and in Norbeck, there's sites that are owned by synagogues or churches, and sometimes families will purchase sites in those areas, and then they really don't have much of a choice, but at least they know where they're with friends from church or synagogues, and it's kind of a comfort factor for them.
And why are funerals so expensive?
Well, it's funerals from funeral homes. They're very expensive for the simple reason of it's a lot of work. In the Jewish aspect, there's a lot of work that has to be done quickly. There are ways to cut those expenses that include pre-planning, because when you pre-plan both funeral home and cemetery expenses, you pay the price today versus at the time of need. And over a period of years, it can be very expensive.
So, well, do you think of, would you rather work in the funeral industry or working with cemeteries?
I'd rather stay in the cemeteries. You get even though you get a variety of people in both situations, the cemeteries, at least you're not always stuck in a building. You're inside and outside. At funeral homes, it seems to be most of the directors, they're either in the building or they're always out of the building. There's very few both going in and out. And that's one thing I like about my job is I'm in and out. I'm not just always stuck behind a desk.
Very good. So thank you, Alan. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us and your experiences with us. Thank you for watching.